Scientific area. Elga Novotny was leader of the European Research Council. Gianotti competed for the cover of Time magazine as Person of the Year in 2000 and in 2012, and so on. Are we solving the gender problem in science in Europe?
Well, I'd be the first, I think, to celebrate individual successes and role models in powerful positions like this. That's absolutely wonderful. But no, I have to say I don't think we are solving it. I think we are growing an awareness of what the problem is. I think we're realizing that the majority of undergraduate students now are women, but they fall out of the scientific careers at every stage in the academic hierarchy in every European Union member state. So what's happening? Where are these women? I think women who stop working for a while to have children have enormous difficulty getting back into the scientific academy. I think where there is a bit of progress is where we look at institutions like learned societies, research scientific funding bodies, journals, academic journals, these sorts of organizations. In the old days, the way in which people got to be members of these organizations was very much on the nod, the tap on the shoulder from people who were already on those boards, seeing themselves coming up. So there was a bit of cloning, and male networks particularly have been very, very important in that process. But increasingly we're beginning to see some of these bodies now going for advertising of posts on an evidence base so that women and men can apply and be judged against criteria. Whenever it's transparent and evidence-based, you will get more women coming through. And that, to my mind, means you've got more excellence coming through because they're being judged on evidence, not on who they know. I think the other area where we could look at is the issue of sex and gender in research itself. And the European Commission, I think, has been very good in drawing attention to the fact that very often these variables are ignored in the conduct and analysis and the policy implications of science. To give you a classic example, I mean, adults my age are often advised to take an aspirin a day because it keeps heart disease away. And that was based on clinical trials of 27,000 people, so it must be a very robust finding. But they were 27,000 men, and actually heart disease in women is different from heart disease in men. And you're beginning to see drug companies in America and in Europe having to withdraw products from the pharmacy shelf because they've only been tested on men, but they're being prescribed to women. Now that seems to be another dimension of the women and science issue. And I think it's very slow, the progress for the scientific community, engineering community, all sorts of other scientists coming to terms with that. But the European Commission has funded a website which is excellent, called Gendered Innovations, to help scientists to make sure they try and address these things quickly. So there is some progress in some areas, but really common sense would tell you this is it's a madness that it's still an agenda issue. If we're really wanting to provide the best science available and for the general public to benefit from that science, then the fact that we let gender be a very important variable in deciding who gets to decide what will be funded, who does it, etc., is barking. It's madness. So some progress, but not really enough.
So the overall objective of SHEMERA project is to enhance research cooperation on gender and science between European Union and Mediterranean countries. What are the main gender issues in South Mediterranean countries?
Well, I don't know. But I've been listening to colleagues from Mediterranean countries talking about this, and I think there is an issue very much about women and academic careers and the normal difficulties that are faced in universities all over the place of resistance, really, to women being able to acquire senior positions. I think the other issue, which is still an issue very much in the European Union, is the role of mothers and fathers, and the issue that if you are a mother, and you want to take a break to look after your children and then come back, it's very, very difficult in EU countries, and I'm sure it's very difficult in Mediterranean countries as well. And also the gender stereotyping, that if you're a mother, then that's your main function in life, and therefore you haven't got space in your head to be a really cutting-edge scientist as well. Now, the research evidence on this suggests that mothers actually outpublish non-mothers. They have to be more organised and focused, and that fathers who take parental leave, as they do very much in Scandinavia, when they come back to work, they're much better skilled. They're able to prioritise, they're able to multitask, and so on and so on. The employers are glad that they've learnt these skills while on parental leave. So I'm hoping these sorts of messages will permeate through. So I think the whole business of the stereotypical images of men and women in the family are really very influential in how people are then seen in the workplace, irrespective of the evidence of their own performance. And that's a problem, I think, for us in Europe as well as Mediterranean countries.
Okay, last question. What the main objectives to enhance research cooperation on gender and science between the European Union and Mediterranean countries?
Another one. That's 2 out of 3 questions I do not know the answer to. What I do hope will happen, though, is that this project, SHEMERA, which I have the greatest respect for, I think it's been a great learning ground for everyone, has created some lateral networks, that is, people from these different countries interested in this subject, getting together, swapping experience, learning from each other. And it seems to me there's tremendous scope for developing that and for developing mutual learning in the future. We mustn't think it's all one way. We mustn't for a second think that it's European countries giving all the lessons out. That's not the case at all. I think there are lots of countries that are putting a lot of investment into research and development who are way ahead of European Union countries in many ways. I think of South Korea, not on the Mediterranean, but investing a great deal of resource into research and development and into single-sex schools for girls who are interested in science from the age of 11. I mean, in 10 or 20 years' time, South Korea will be full of very well qualified and enthusiastic and determined scientists that the state has invested in. So I think, the learning can go in different directions. But what I'm hoping is that the EU, which has always stretched its arms out beyond EU membership, will sustain the links with these countries and these members of the SHEMERA partnership to facilitate that mutual learning.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.